welcome to a special Lenten edition of the Faith and Sustainability Podcast. I'm Leonard Robinson, your host and chief storyteller, and we're going to tell you stories that inspire us to care for our common home.
And I'm Kat Doyle, your co-host. I do want to remind everybody that our podcast is made possible from the generous support of Jamie Lanier, the Varlamov Family Foundation, Georgia Interfaith Power and Light, St. Francis Services, Semco Atlanta, and the Archbishop of Atlanta. Okay, Leonard, I'm really excited because this is a first for us.
Yes.
We're going to talk about the Lenten season and how care for creation and our Lenten practices overlap.
Yeah. Well, I look at Lent as a season of ecological conversion, and I do it in a positive way. I don't look at it as giving up something. I look at what the things that we can gain through Lent and the practices and things that we do. So it's not a give up thing. This is what you get. This is what you get.
I think that maybe we start with the fact that Pope Leo's message for Lent this year really did incorporate care for creation. He talked about the fact that we needed to be listening, better listeners, that shows our desire to be in good relationship with God, but it also was in that listening to make sure that we are doing so with refraining from using harsh words. So you and I both know that in this sustainability world, we can get into some pretty heated arguments. So I love the idea that Pope Francis said to us, do this work, but do it in a less harsh way of speaking to one another. So there you go. Right off the top, one thing we can do or we can change this Lenten season.
Yeah, and I'll share with you later on if you'll share with me what you're doing for Lent. But it allows us to, as in Laudato Si, hear the cry of the poor, hear the cry of the earth if we focus. And then practically they say if you do something at least 30 days, it becomes a habit. So
we have 40 days here.
Yeah, so we've got a little bit of extra to get those good habits. I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I spend a lot of time in front of a computer and TV and phone and everything. I'm kind of like an OG with 5G. I just love it. So I am going to sacrifice some of that time, and I'm going to replace it with prayer and meditation.
Okay, so what's really great about that is that time on social media, on the internet, and especially the use of AI now, that when you cut back on the time that you're spending on the internet, on social media, by default, you're also going to be saving energy because I don't think people realize just how much energy AI uses. So fasting from AI is a great way to help us spiritually, but also to help the earth.
And this episode is great because we're right in the middle of the Lenten season and everything. And, I think I'm going to go out and, as I'm experiencing, I'm going to ask other people, hey, what are you doing for Lent? What are you doing for Lent? Or here's some sustainable Lenten ideas. If they don't have any, let's give them some ideas, Kat.
Let's make it a Laudato Si Lent.
Yes.
Maybe that's the way that we enter into this. I think the other thing, too, to remember is, this Lenten practice of giving something up or doing something more goes all the way back to the early church and our baptismal roots. So it isn't just about doing something for the earth all by itself. It's about us practicing that preparation for what our baptism has prepared us.
Putting us in right relationship with God, neighbor, and creation. I think it's kind of an alignment, or what we did for the podcast, a reset.
There you go. There you go. It's also great to know that almost every Catholic organization out there has some kind of Lenten practice tool. And what I found when I did a little bit of research was just how many of them had Laudato Si or Creation Care Lenten tools. To give you an example, we have Catholic Climate Covenant, Georgia Interfaith Power and Light, or Interfaith Power and Light, CRS and CRS Rice Bowl. There's something called Greener Lent, Pax Christi, the Mary Knollers, Ignatian, Spirituality, the Stations of the Cross, the Laudato Si movement, all of these Catholic organizations, if you just go online and look for that, and I know I'm using a little AI, a little energy to do that, but if you go in there and look for that, they have great tools. Tools that actually, once I found out about those, I am definitely going to be incorporating some of those practices into my Lenten fasting.
Yeah, well, during this, I guess it's a digital fast. I'm going to get back to my first love of reading, actually reading a book or reading a newspaper. I kind of got away from that. I'm looking at my phone for information. So I'm going to get back to my first love.
So, if we're going to embrace our role of stewards of creation, we have to first of all realize and acknowledge that we are part of that beloved creation. And so I found a really cool Lenten resource. It's a Lutheran resource, and it is a calendar that has these really cool themed days. And I just want to tell you these because just thinking about what the themed days are give you a bunch of different things you can do. There's Sabbath Sundays where we prioritize simplicity and we rest and prepare for the work. There's Make 'em Hear You Mondays. Man, that's all about advocacy, speaking up for those who can't. Try It Tuesdays. So during Lent, what are some of those things those we can focus on the actions that harm? What can we do instead of those actions? Wasteless Wednesdays, I think that speaks for itself. Think Bigger Thursdays. I love this because it's orienting us towards not just individual Lenten practices, but community Lenten practices, which bring about systemic change. And then Food System Fridays and Sustainable Habits Saturdays. So I just think it's kind of cool with all the stuff they do. But here's what I love the best. I went through there and I was kind of prepping for the show today, and my favorite thing was for the Wednesdays when we're talking about less waste, and I love this one: remove one light bulb in your house and live without that light bulb for Lent. But don't make it an easy one like, the night light that you might see once during the 40 days, right? What's one that you can take out that you'll notice each time, like a hallway light? Or even a front porch light. Is it, I live in a house that has an outside neighborhood light. Do I really need my front porch light?
Well, what'll do it for me and help me hit my objective is the light right by my computer.
Well, there you go.
Take that bulb out because I can't find the mouse unless I have the lights on and everything. Turn it out. I'm staying away from it. So it is to a mean.
That moves us into one of the other choices was think about how you can include solar. So if I'm going to take out a light bulb in my house, can I use solar lighting outside? Can I use a solar charger for my cell phone? How can I use solar to replace some of the energy sucking things that I'm doing day in and day out?
Well, it starts with little practices because if you don't get the little practices, then you don't get the big ones. So I always joke that you ask somebody what time it is, they look at their microwave and tell you what time it is. Well, maybe if that little light is on, that means we're using energy. So it's so much around us. I'll tell you a story. When I first got confirmed as a Catholic, I made this ambitious thing for Lent. I'm going to give up plastic. You know how incredibly difficult that was, giving up plastic? Because, all right, plastic bottles, okay. Plastic bags, okay. But then everything comes in plastic. So I had committed not to buy anything that had plastic in it. That was a lot more difficult. But it taught me different ways around to use less plastic, which I think is a good Lenten practice.
I think giving up single-use plastic is one of the easiest, hardest things to do. If that makes sense. It's easy to go, hey, I got it. This will take my whole Lenten fasting, to the limit, but it's hard to do. So giving up single-use plastics is a great thing. But what's really going to move the is for everything we give up, how are we replacing that?
That's
what
right.
are we doing? Using glassware, using cloth napkins, all those things those single-use plastics that we're getting rid of to make us think, to make us see what kind of a difference we're making.
Also, it was a reality check for me to see how much plastic is a part of our lives and everything. And how we need to get control of it. Because if we're not in control of something, we're going to be at the mercy of it. And with these microplastics and everything into our waterways, we're starting to lose a little bit of control. Wouldn't you say?
I maybe a lot, but I think that's where the advocacy then calls in. You know, that whole idea of make them hear you Mondays, the advocacy part. And I would say it's not always about giving up, as you said. Sometimes it's about what more can I do? What can I intentionally do to make a difference? So maybe for this Lent, we get to know where all of our elected officials, from the county guys all the way up to the White House, where do they stand on these issues of caring for creation? Because our Catholic faith calls us to both care for creation and raise our voice in the public square. So there's something you can do versus give up.
Yeah. Do you know who your city council member? Do you know your county commissioner? We do.
We do indeed.
Do you know your state representatives? Do you know your members of Congress? Do you know where they stand? Or did you vote for them because you just heard their name, the name you know? So it's a lot, 40 days to a time of reflection, to hear the cry of the poor, to hear the cry of the earth, to look at, okay, why am I doing this? Laudato Si calls us to limit consumerism. And maybe we fast from buying, which is, it sounds oversimplified, but hey, maybe I won't buy as much. Or, they have these 2 for 1. They have what they call these BOGOs, buy one, get one free. Well, I'm going to save even more by not buying anything at all,
Wow, that's exactly what the marketing people want you to do. But I do see where you're going with that. I think that as we look at this, and you asked me a little bit about what I was going to give up and that sort of thing, one of the things that I'm looking at, and I am working very hard to take what the Pope has asked us to do to heart. So giving up this judgment when I listen to others whose opinions may differ from mine, or whose actions might be different than what I think are the actions we should be taking, but to listen with a good heart and try to understand and dialogue. So I'm working really hard this Lenten season to judge less and dialogue more. There are so many things, from consumerism to the climate to caring for different species, that sort of thing. All of those discussions require a good heart towards listening and dialogue to help each other understand. So that's really where I'm going. And all of that, in my opinion, focuses us. It pushes us right on the road to remember that our faith reminds us there is hope.
Yes.
And the hope of the resurrection is also the hope of making sure and keeping our earth so it's supporting us.
That's right. There's a lot of work that we need to do this side of the resurrection. Care for creation. The consumer part. Hearing the cry of the poor. Sometimes we get caught up in. I know me caught up in computers and TV and everything. I'm not hearing the cry of the poor. So these 40 days, when I'm away from my computer and electronics, I'm going to be listening to see what I can hear. So, again, it's a reflection time. And then if somebody asks me the question, I'm just waiting for somebody to say, hey, what did you give up for Lent? I didn't give up. This is what I gained during the Lenten time. That's the answer I want to give. I'm just waiting for somebody to ask the question.
So the give up part, I mean, there is a long tradition of fasting, of giving up. And let's face it, here in the United States, one of the places we can make the biggest difference when we give up things is in food waste. So being more intentional about when we're buying food, is this the right amount for what I need? How can I prepare foods, and how can I do things so that I'm creating less food waste? In creating less food waste, we are usually using or eating less food. And we all know that there's enough food on this earth to feed everybody. But if I'm not eating as much or not wasting as much, my mind then goes to the idea of who might be gaining if I'm using less.
Yes.
Hearing the cry of the poor.
Exactly, the cry of the poor. Again, you give up food, we call it fasting, but look at the things you get from fasting, that connection you have with God. So let's, again, focus on what are we going to gain this Lenten season? What am I going to gain this Lenten season? Well, close to me, closer to God, closer to a better understanding of Laudato Si, a better focus on the mission that we're doing here. Focusing on the podcast. How do we make this podcast better? So this is going to be a great time. I'll be in beast mode.
Well,
at the end.
Interfaith Power and Light, they've put out a calendar of actions, 40 days, 40 actions. But their tagline is, a lot can happen in 40 days. And I think that's a really great thing, because we look at, you talked about being able to create a new habit or change a habit. But what can we accomplish in this 40 days? What could happen? And I'll take maybe this as an example. What if every day during the 40 days, I didn't run my dishwasher unless it was full, or I ran it on the cycle that didn't use the heat dry? What happens if I cut back on the amount of television time, computer time, everything that's sucking the energy away? A lot can happen. And then multiply that by the last point the Pope made in his Lenten message, was that we're in this together. We're journeying together. What if we all started making those individual changes? And in doing so, we begin to bring about systemic change. We begin to change society, what society looks like, what we need, what we want, how we're using things. If we all start changing that over 40 days, together we're a massive force.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Again, the communal aspect of Lent as well. But again, you don't. The first thing people say, "What are you giving up?" No, this is what. Let's gain this. Let's gain this care for creation. Let's gain the sensitivity. Let's make. I think Lent is perfect for what we're doing with sustainability, because it's the poor that bear the brunt of pollution and everything. If we pollute less, we're lessening the burden. And again, after 30 days, it becomes a habit, and we got 40 days.
Sustainable Habit Saturdays, baby. That's what we're doing. And that does mean that during Lent, I think sometimes we forget that we can use this time, this quiet time, this retrospective time, to really do the work of analyzing our habits, analyzing our practices, looking at the why we do things, being proactive. We go back, and Jesus gave us a lot of things that he calls us to do, and he modeled how we should do it. And I think when we're taking this time during Lent to think that through, man, that overlays beautifully with what we're doing around sustainability and creation care.
And another thing we can do is almsgiving. I won't mention names, but instead of buying that cup of coffee that costs $7, that's only like 50 cents worth of coffee at that place, let's take that and give it to an organization. Give it to one of these organizations that are doing creation care, or are doing conservation, or something like that. So almsgiving is a part of Lent as well.
And what's great is Catholic Relief Services, CRS. The CRS Rice Bowl program has always been about that. So I would encourage people, if you care about creation, think about what the monies that you put into the Rice Bowl actually go to. They go to helping teach sustainable farming practices. They go to helping to develop and put out there drought-resistant seeds. They go to making sure that everybody has enough to eat, and that what they're getting is healthy food that allows them to not just live but to thrive. So CRS Rice Bowl is the perfect example of almsgiving that also meets our criteria of how do we make the world more sustainable.
Gosh, I think we just did. That's great. That's great. Well, so much to talk about in so little time. But I'm excited about the new season of the podcast. Just a shameless plug, April 1st will be our first release of our new season of the Faith and Sustainability podcast.
It's a refresh. It's going to be great. I also wanted to say that when we talk about advocacy, storytelling is actually a type of advocacy, and we're really going to focus in on storytelling. We want to hear people's stories, give them the opportunity to tell those stories, because those stories that we hear help bring about change. So new season coming up. I think Lent gives us that opportunity to prepare ourselves, to get ready to dive deeper and to do more.
Oh, the timing is perfect. We couldn't have planned this any better, or maybe we did plan this. I don't know.
So I will go, before we go out, we have a team that works with us, and we did a little bit of asking them what they were giving up for Lent, and we got some really great answers. Everything from, I'm going to be more charitable and how I feel about people that disagree with me on climate, that sort of thing, to people saying, I'm going to give up on single-use plastics and all of that. What did you hear from people?
Well, I heard a lot of it was the attitude change towards things, more of a mental, spiritual thing. And again, it wasn't in the vein of giving up, but I'm going to do this, because I was hearing, about, plastics, transport, public. Some people said they're going to take more public transportation or try public transportation for the first time.
Oh, no, don't have me go with you. We'll go the wrong direction.
Well, look at it as an adventure. As an adventure.
So not only are we abstaining from sin, but we are looking for this true conversion of heart during Lent. And I like to think that maybe the thing I'm looking forward to the most throughout this Lenten season is I've made a commitment to do Lenten nature walks. Every day, looking out and seeing nature, really looking at it, seeing it in a leaf, seeing it in a squirrel, looking for, nuts that were buried in the fall out there, digging up the yards in the spring. So I'm committed to really opening my own eyes to see nature and all of its beauty by those daily nature walks.
That's great. That's great. And when I'm walking again, I'm going to do the same thing as well. Well, what do you think? We're entering into a new season of the Faith and Sustainability Podcast. We're getting ready to wrap up this special Lenten episode. We want everybody listening. You can listen to us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, or you can go to the Archdiocese website.
Just don't forget to like and to follow us, because we would love to always see you when we get together at the intersection of
faith and sustainability.